player conduct has been one of the most talked about non-football issues when it comes to the NFL.
Cleveland Browns defensive end Lonnie Phelps has been arrested after police say that he crashed his SUV into a Key West restaurant.
Let's take a look back over the last 2 decades plus, dating back to 2000, and review every NFL team's total arrests and touch on some of the more memorable or shocking run-ins with the law that we've seen take place. Number 32, Houston Texans, 17. The Texans, being the youngest franchise in the NFL, have managed to keep their arrest numbers relatively low since all the other teams had an additional 2 years to rack up arrests. But they have still managed to have a couple of notable incidents. Most recently, former running back Darius Anderson, who was arrested for burglary with intent to commit assault and theft. Number 31, Detroit Lions, 19. Despite a tumultuous period in the mid-2000s where the Lions had a bunch of legal issues suddenly pop up, they actually have fewer legal issues than many might expect. Cornerback Cameron Sutton unfortunately had a run-in with the law this April and turned himself in on DV charges. Number 30, Philadelphia Eagles, 21. The Eagles have maintained a relatively clean record, and most of the incidents have been relatively low stakes. But one of the more notable stories came back in 2016 when linebacker Nigel Bradham caught felony assault charges after assaulting a hotel employee over a Cabana umbrella dispute. Number 29, Los Angeles Rams, 23. While they are near the bottom of the league, the Rams have faced their share of legal troubles, particularly during their time in St. Louis. That said, the team hasn't exactly been perfect since moving to the City of Angels. I mean, just last year, cornerback Darian Kendrick caught weapon charges. Number 28, New York Giants, 24. The New York Giants are near the bottom of the list, but man, when things go wrong, they go wrong in a big way, as they have had some high-profile incidents. Say, for example, the infamous Plaxico Burress shooting himself in the leg incident at a nightclub in 2008, which ended up leading to an illegal possession of a firearm charge and prison time for one of the most important players on the Giants. Number 27, Washington Commanders, 25. With the way that things always seem to go wrong in DC, it's actually a little surprising to see that the now Commanders are actually near the bottom of the league rankings in terms of arrests since the year 2000. And as it currently stands, there's not anything that's really crazy that has happened either. Number 26, New England Patriots, 25. The Patriots haven't really had the most arrests over the years, but they definitely have one of the most notable ones. Of course, that being the Aaron Hernandez saga. Number 25, the Atlanta Falcons, 25. If the Patriots don't have the most notable arrests since 2000, then I think it's almost definitely the Atlanta Falcons, who lost their superstar quarterback Mike Vick to a prison sentence following illegal dogfighting charges back in the mid-2000s. Number 24, Buffalo Bills, 27. The Bills' total count number isn't that high, but they have had quite a few incidents accumulate in recent years, including Richie Incognito's showdown at the Scottsdale Funeral Home, Mario Williams' trespassing charges, and Ed Oliver's DUI and weapons charge. Number 23, Carolina Panthers, 28. The Panthers have had their fair share of controversies, including defensive end Greg Hardy's domestic violence case in 2014, which ultimately resulted in his suspension and release from the team, and the physical evidence that was released was extremely jarring. Number 22, Dallas Cowboys, 28. There are a lot of good things about playing for the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, the state's laws on marijuana usage and possession are not one of them. I mean, just ask former Cowboys linebacker Rashaan Evans, who was cut shortly after his 2023 arrest for possession. Number 21, Tennessee Titans, 30. The Titans are trending towards the middle of the league in terms of its players facing legal troubles since the year 2000. But when you factor in the, Adam Pac-Man Jones effect, honestly, 30 feels kind of low. Number 20, New York Jets, 30. It shouldn't come as a huge surprise to anyone familiar with the Jets' cursed nature as a franchise that they've had some of the more publicly humiliating player arrests happen under their watch in the past 25 years. But perhaps worst of all was defensive lineman Sheldon Richardson's high-speed chase with the police back in 2015. Number 19, Las Vegas Raiders, 31. The Las Vegas Raiders are still in the back half of the league in terms of total arrests, which, considering the move to Las Vegas, is a little bit surprising. But there is absolutely no denying that they had one of the most high-profile one in recent memory, that being the Henry Ruggs disaster. Their young wide receiver was arrested and convicted on 1 count of driving while impaired, resulting in death, and 1 count of vehicular manslaughter, a turn of events that has likely ended his very promising career, as he was sentenced for 3 to 10 years. So we'll see what happens. Number 8, Los Angeles Chargers, 31. The Chargers have experienced various legal issues over the years, notably the case of linebacker Sean Merriman's domestic violence accusation in 2009, which was eventually dropped, albeit under some very suspicious pretenses. Number 17, Pittsburgh Steelers, 32. For an organization that prides itself on and is regularly lauded for doing things the right way, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a big old black eye on their resume in terms of player conduct. They do still fall somewhere in the middle, but when you consider the carelessness that they displayed in managing their franchise quarterback Ben Roethlisberger's now infamous sex assault charges, which I might add led to suspensions and settlements, it is very hard to look at them in that same light that they seem to believe that they really deserve. Number 16, Green Bay Packers, 33. The Packers have had a relatively clean record as they sit in the middle of the pack. But, some of their incidents, like the arrest of tight end Mark Chmura for sexual assault in 2000, which ultimately ended his career, have been rather brutal in nature. Number 15, Baltimore Ravens, 33. There are a few NFL franchises that have faced more high-profile legal scrutiny than the Baltimore Ravens, which, considering the city that they play in, I guess really shouldn't come as a surprise. But in any case, the Ravens have had significant legal issues over the years, including one of the most infamous in NFL history, when linebacker Ray Lewis was involved in a murder trial in 2000, which was tied back to an altercation that happened after the Super Bowl. Ultimately, the controversy ended in a plea deal and probation, but it did so under some very murky circumstances. Number 14, San Francisco 49ers, 34. The San Francisco 49ers have had more than their fair share of legal woes over the years, in no small part thanks to another talented but very troubled player who also happens to be the co-owner of the league's arrest record, Aldon Smith. The fearsome defensive end caught multiple DUIs and weapon charges while he was a member of the 49ers, to the point that it ultimately resulted in his release from the team. Number 13, Arizona Cardinals, 34. The Arizona Cardinals are dangerously close to the top 10 in terms of team arrests since 2000. However, the most recent incident unfortunately took place this past June when star safety Adrian Wilson was arrested for DV charges. Number 12, New Orleans Saints, 35. I suppose it shouldn't come as too big of a surprise that the New Orleans Saints are near the top of the list in terms of volume of arrests. I mean, after all, while the Big Easy is quite a fun place to live or visit, it doesn't exactly lend itself to the best of decision-making. The Saints have seen two of their top wide receivers catch charges, no pun intended, the last couple of years too. Michael Thomas was taken in on misdemeanor battery charges in November of 2023, and Chris Olave was alleged to have been recklessly driving through Kenner. Number 11, Indianapolis Colts, 36. The Indianapolis Colts generally have found a way to fly under the radar, but they have sneakily racked up quite a few arrests in the last 24 years. The most recent scandal came when their tight end Andrew Ogletree was taken in on felony DV charges in December of 2023. The Colts front office, however, has no one to blame but themselves, considering that they, namely the team owner Jim Irsay, have set the precedent with his very public arrest history. Number 10, Chicago Bears, 37. The Bears have experienced multiple legal troubles over the years, including the infamous arrest of former wide receiver Sam Hurd in 2011 for attempting to purchase and distribute large quantities of drugs. The recent regime hasn't exactly had much luck keeping its players out of trouble either, though. In 2022 alone, the Bears had 3 players arrested during the offseason. Number 9, Miami Dolphins, 37. The Dolphins organization has had its fair share of issues maintaining player conduct and addressing off-field behavior. They clearly aren't too worried about it either, though, considering the recent acquisition of controversial star wideout Tyreek Hill, who is absolutely no stranger to run-ins with the law. Number 8, Kansas City Chiefs, 38. The Kansas City Chiefs have garnered a bit of reputation over the last 2 decades for being an organization that was willing to be a safe haven for players that had, a checkered past. Provided that they were talented enough to warrant a second chance. Think about how long it actually took for them to finally part ways with their talented running back Kareem Hunt a couple of years back. Plus, there was all the controversy surrounding Tyreek Hill while he was a member of the team. And to make matters even worse, the Chiefs have also dealt with the tragic incident involving assistant coach Britt Reed, the son of head coach Andy Reid. He was involved in a car accident in the early 2021 season that severely injured a young girl and later pleaded guilty to driving while intoxicated, bringing a further negative attention to the organization, something that you just cannot do as an assistant coach. Number 7, Cleveland Browns, 39. The Cleveland Browns are another one of those organizations that have really found themselves with a longest yard sort of reputation for the players that they choose to acquire. Deshaun Watson, and also the way that they address player conduct within the locker room. They've had some seriously high-profile issues long before Deshaun ever came to town. I mean, think back to quarterback Johnny Manziel's tumultuous tenure with the Browns, which was marked by multiple arrests and legal troubles. And lest we forget Josh Gordon's repeated issues, or the fact that Cleveland was the team that signed the aforementioned Kareem Hunt after the video surfaced of him shoving and kicking a woman. Number 6. Seattle Seahawks, 40. The Seattle Seahawks have quietly racked up the 6th most arrests in the NFL since 2000. Some of the issues have been relatively minor, like Marshawn Lynch's bevy of nonviolent offenses, which of course were also alleviated by his status as a beloved figure in the Pacific Northwest. But Richard Sherman, on the other hand, well, his 2021 arrest was far more troubling and drew a ton of media scrutiny. Number 5. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 42. South Florida can be a hotbed for criminal activity, just something in the water down there, I guess. And with the Bucs slotted 5th on this list, I think it's safe to assume that Tampa hasn't figured out a viable solution to prevent this maladaptive behavior from seeping into its locker room. Number 4. Jacksonville Jaguars, 43. Coming in at number 4 on this dubious list, the Jacksonville Jaguars with 43 arrests since 2000. Their total has been at least in part supported by a couple of serial offenders like former wide receiver Justin Blackmon and defensive end Dante Fowler Jr., both of which had several legal run-ins during their respective careers. Number 3. Cincinnati Bengals, 44. The Cincinnati Bengals may be 3rd on the list, but they have one of the worst reputations across the entirety of North American sports. With players like Chris Henry, Vontaze Burfict, and Adam Pac-Man Jones leading the way, it's actually somewhat shocking that they didn't come in at 1st overall. Number 2. Denver Broncos, 54. Denver has made it a focus to improve the culture and support systems for players in recent years, but that total of 54 arrests since 2000 is still fairly staggering. The Broncos have had a couple of high-profile players catch charges over the years, too. People like Brandon Marshall, Elvis Demerville, and Aqib Talib, just to name a few. Number 1. Minnesota Vikings, 60. Their total was aided, of course, by the infamous Love Boat scandal, which resulted in a handful of Vikings getting arrested for their lewd and illegal behavior on a cruise out on Lake Minnetonka. Not to mention the issue that superstars Adrian Peterson and Randy Moss ran into during their time with the Vikes. But there you have it, all 32 NFL teams and their total arrest records. But which NFL team's arrest total surprised you the most? Which organization has done the worst job policing its players? Was there anything that we may have missed here? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, well, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.